anything for a quiet life. The last 18 months has been so full of anxiety and trials and tribulations with COVID that we'd love to have a life that's full of peace and quiet, without struggles, without difficulties. How do I find a life like that? Anything for a quiet life. As a Christian, I confess that Jesus is Lord. That was the earliest Christian confession. From the very beginning of the church, people have confessed Jesus is Lord. And that confession celebrates something of what Jesus is, that he is one who was crucified but was raised from the dead, and we now call him Lord, Lord of the cosmos, Lord of the church, and Lord of my life. And it says that he is worthy of our trust, and it talks about his greatness. But it also commits us to living our lives in Jesus' ways, that being Lord of our lives, we are committed to putting into practice the things that he has taught us and the example of life that he has left us. But things get in the way of us doing that. And the things that get in the way come in two kinds, really. The first is the hard things in life. Because when life is hard, somehow that gets in the way of our faith. We either give up our faith altogether, as some people have done when life is hard, or we push it to the background as we struggle to deal with life and all its hardships, and as we work our way through the mud that life feels at that stage. And so Jesus as Lord gets kind of pushed to the background. The other kind of difficult things that gets in the way are a different thing altogether. We are seduced by the life that we see around about us in the world, if that's the right way to put it. We are attracted by a life that seems easier, that isn't so difficult to do. We somehow find it attractive to be like other people around about us, to blend into the world and to stop being different from the world around us. And so we are tempted, in a sense, to compromise our faith and just be like everybody else. There was a church in Pergamum, an old city in Turkey, and they faced exactly that same kind of life. These two things were getting in the way of their living life with Jesus as Lord. First of all, it was the city where the Roman government had its headquarters in that part of the world. And so life became hard for the Christians because the government was insisting that the people of the city declared that Caesar is Lord. And of course the Christians couldn't do that. And at least one of the church leaders lost his life because he was unable to compromise his faith by declaring that Caesar is Lord. But the other kind of difficulty was there as well, because there were people around who were telling everybody that life is better if, and life can be sweeter if. And that seduction was leading the Christians to compromise their faith, because what they were being told was different from what Jesus had said. And so they were being seduced, in a sense, to compromise their faith by blending in with everybody else. Jesus has called us to be the light of the world. He has left us with a set of values by which to live our lives. And these are great values. The only difficulty with them is that sometimes they're different from the world around us, and that if we put them into practice, we end up being different from the world. The world we live in is a curious place because we are constantly being told that the world is a tolerant place and that we celebrate difference and diversity, except if it's a difference that the world doesn't like, in which case it can be a very intolerant place. However, we are called to live out the values that Jesus teaches and the values that Jesus shows us in his life, and to constantly make Jesus the Lord of our lives by doing that. And that is our calling, to be faithful to Jesus, to call him Lord and to live with Jesus as Lord of our lives.